Hello, everyone. This is Coach Matt from the Seattle Chess School, and here we have the the fourth edition of the Thursday Night Chess for the adults. We're gonna commentate on the games here. Let me get my face over here so we get out of the way. And we've got 4 players so far. I guess there might be some late joining. Let's go immediately to LJJ versus Mark Giado. Here we have a Sicilian defense. Kalashnikov, not a bad defense. Knight b3, not the most critical move. The most critical move, of course, is knight to b5. Immediately threatening knight d6 check and forcing black to play d6 or play some sort of specialized system. Some people actually allow knight to d6 check. But okay, knight to b3, knight to f6, knight c3, bishop to b4. I would say this is already somewhat more comfortable for black. Black will have the backward pawn on the d file, but trying to engineer d6 or d5 is going to help him. The pressure here is rather unpleasant. Fairly normal castle position. So far, so good. This probably will be a longer battle. We got 10+5 time control here. Let's see. We have another game going on. Let's check that. So this is Cyrus versus Sid. Okay. Con Sicilian with f4. This is old Emery Tate theory. This is a move that I saw in a couple of Tate games and used this move myself. It's a little over aggressive, I guess, but white is intending some sort of third rank setup involving knight c3, queen f3, bishop d3, bishop to e3, maybe even backing up the knight to b3 and then castling long. With all the pieces sitting here, this is why it's called the third rank setup. This is also quite good if you can get a third rank setup with a pawn wall, a pawn duo in front, so that this way you have something to attack with later on. So I do like this f4 move. So a tactical move threatening bishop takes c3 check. Looks like he's been thinking for a while. So already an interesting moment. How do we deal with the threat of bishop c3 check? Interesting thing here is that black is seriously threatening to take twice because white will no longer have bishop to d2 when d4 hangs. So here, in the third rank setup, the queen typically goes to f3. So this is a way to defend. So black has the option of destroying pawn structure if they so choose. This is threatening to take and to take. So bishop c3, pawn c3, knight takes e4, and if queen takes e4, queen c3, check will pick up the rook. So this is still a tactical move, and typical in the Sicilian con, especially if white defends indifferently. This the combination of queen, bishop b4, and a knight f6 usually is sufficient pressure to get some sort of a concession out of white's position, some sort of pawn structure damage or awkward development or something like that. So this actually looks good for black already. All right, so while he's giving it a think there, let's go back to this game. Okay, so we've got opposite side castling. That's pretty exciting. Let's see how they got this position. Let's back it up a few moves. So yeah, we last left it here. Bishop g5, tactical move. Forcing some sort of exchange. We would love to play this, but it's pinned. So queen d2. So now it's kind of a double pin here. Maybe queen d3 was more to the point. This way you can possibly use some third rank squares. You could possibly use c4 or b5 as a square, and you're still intending to castle queenside anyway. So that might have been more accurate. This is okay. So castle, a5. This seems normal. a3. Okay, so something to hold, something to attack later on, unless black exchanges. exchanges and pushes, maybe. Eh. Interesting thing about exchanging is that black possibly could take f2 if the queen takes. Some moves have been played. Take, and he does take here. So this means that f2 is worth defending. a4, and now where does the knight go? C5 probably has to come back to d3, but this again looks fairly awkward here. So this looks really good for black. Rook a5 might be an interesting tempo move. Rook d8. I guess white was threatening here. Okay, so not bad. Not bad. If you could develop this bishop, black probably has a nice advantage here. Okay, so that's what's going on there. All right, let's pause this for a second. Okay, so some technical details here. Now we've got 5 players, and hopefully we can get some more. Let's get back into the action here. Cyrus versus Sid. So a few moves later, and this one is also opposite side castling. All right, so one of the great things about opposite side castling is the pawns that are not on the side where your king is can now be used in what's called pawn storm style, just simply attacking with many pawns. Usually the intention with a pawn storm, we're going to see one here. The intention is to try to trade a couple of your storming pawns for 2 of the defending pawns, which will make the king much easier to attack. Another thing that you can do with pawn storms is to create permanent weaknesses in your opponent's side of the board. So this way that when you follow up this attack with big pieces, it will be much easier to accomplish. Now, the thing, of course, about pawn storms is that whilst this is all going on, black will probably be doing the same thing on the queen side, trying to push their pawns down the board in an effort to do the exact same thing. So it becomes a little bit of a race who can get to their, their prospective plans in first. Of course, as usual, the center of the board is of supreme importance. And so usually in these kind of positions, whoever controls the center usually has a nice little edge. Because while flank moves are being played, the center moves ought to be a lot stronger. Okay, so this actually allows a tactic if wanted. Bishop g4. I wonder if this means anything though, because bishop g4, the knight will be also under attack. So okay, so Sid Buzz goes for this, but if the rook is captured, probably this bishop can be ignored, and white can just simply take on f6. So queen g3 looks like a really good move here, because when pawn takes knight happens, queen takes is going to be checkmate. So I don't know if this is going to work. Now, if white goes anywhere other than the G file, then probably bishop takes rook. Yeah, like this is extremely passive. So this just gives time. Now, if the black knight is captured, then the bishop can just be saved. And you just run away. Queen G3 was important because when pawn takes knight happened, that was threatening mate. And so when black blocks the mate, say G6, then you have time to collect the bishop. Oh, so throws in this one. So that means that there will be no more knight to D5. So that's probably a good in-between move there. And then capture the rook. Probably compulsory. Oh, whoa, okay, E4, I didn't even see. So yeah, once again, playing in the center. Yeah, actually that does win it. Well, and that, well, this is very difficult to calculate. So no, you can't even take here. Queen takes rook is check. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is a very interesting combo. Maybe the correct thing to do is move a rook to E1. Yeah, suddenly black's got some wicked threats. Okay, so this is getting the queens off the board. With extra material. Okay. 1 second here. Okay. One more technical detail there. Okay, so a few moves later happened. So the queen trade did happen. D6 fell. Pawn storm is happening. So this one, the pawn storms are probably not going to be as effective. Neither side has a queen anymore. Much easier to defend this type of thing. So this pawn looks really hard to defend. And then material will be equal. So probably the significant factor in this position is that the bishops are opposite. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, so this is a greedy move. Maybe black can set up some sort of fortress. Bishop to bishop h5 plus g6, and then everything will be held. Okay, yeah, f3. Didn't even consider that. Okay, so maybe we're actually going to see this variation, and black is attempting to get greedy here and hold on to everything. And g6. So black will temporarily be down a bishop. I mean, this bishop is basically out of the game, but be up a pawn, and the pawn that is up is a pass pawn. Now this bishop suddenly is also quite good, so maybe there's some tactical trickery around the king. But it seems to me that if black can centralize both rooks, white might be in big trouble here. Also, since this bishop can't move anymore, perhaps this rook needs to be repositioned. Just go right back to the center. Something like that. The rook isn't needed here anymore. So very interesting endgame. Okay, so let's see what's going on in the other game, and we'll look at it from black's point of view here. So here we also had the opposite side castle. We'll back up a few moves. Some moves have been played. Okay, so so it was knight c5, rook d8, bishop c4, trying to pick on the a pawn, which was won. Wow. Okay. So give me the bishop, give me the rook. So you want to trade that? No. Okay. Some maneuvering around. So this knight's protected, so that's okay. So here's where we are. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, so white is one a pawn. Black has got a really bad rook here. The bishop hasn't been developed. This knight is okay, even though it's on the rim, but it can't go forward. And it also can't go backwards, so maybe it's not so wonderful. This rook is purely defensive. So in spite of the fact that white had this broken castling over here, it looks like they've made something out of their position. So suddenly this is looking very comfortable. Yeah, this looks nice, but of course, knight takes knight. You can even take with the bishop. In fact, it might even be better to take with the bishop, because if he takes with the knight, maybe you can pin him. Yeah, here there's no pins, so this is just a piece. All right, so good defensive technique there by LJJ. Not bad. So now he has a winning position. All he really has to do is invite people to the party, maybe go for a late pawn storm of his own, since there's really nothing over here that can stop it. You got this bishop over here. You got all kinds of pressure on d6. You have this wonderful square d5. Well, okay, so yeah, actually that corrects a few of those problems, but what, bishop d5? That looks simple. Yeah, you could take. Have some trouble positioning this knight now. but at least it's an extra knight, so no big deal there. Yeah, just coordinating everything. All right, looking good. Looking good. All right, let's go. Oh, so now we have a pure bishop endgame here. So let's see how that happened. We had 4 rooks at one point. Okay, so G6. So he did reposition the rook, offered a trade, which was accepted. Blockading, trying to lift the blockade. This was traded. Okay, and then, okay, so we have an opposite colored bishop endgame. Black's up a pawn. All of these pawns are unattackable by bishops for either side. This bishop is rooted to the E1 square, so can't go on any adventures. And here we have a tactical threat. Picking off a pawn. Probably if black can weasel their way to G4, that might gain some space. Here, possibly an F6 break might be in play. I don't know. These opposite color bishop endgames are notoriously drawn. So if white can just set up some sort of dark square barricade, probably they couldn't lose here. Like this king probably needs to be on a dark square at some point. This is an interesting waiting move. So here we go. Put stuff on the dark squares, give black no object to attack. So this break was inevitable. Maybe even F5 was more precise because it forces this move, but now this is happening. So does white have an option of walking over here? I wonder if that's the case. I wonder. B3, so attempting to create a passed pawn. Oh, or this way. This is, I guess, an alternate way to do it. I suppose black could ignore this for one move. Just continue to walk over here. Yeah, oh, this is what happened. Okay. So got rid of one pair of pawns. Do I hear 2? No. Making a pass pawn on this side of the board? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. This dark square blockader is really excellent here. Very hard to break through this. All right. So while that's going on, let's switch back over. Let's back over here. So LJJ is still up a knight, and now it's been outposted on D5, which should be decisive. So that's what happened. So queen to B5, lost the D6 pawn. Here, attacking 2 pawns. One with check, but now the king is actually a little bit safer here, and then blocks it with the knight. Queen A2 threatening not so much. Queen B6 threatening a couple of things here. And now white looks like they have a pretty decisive attack. This king is nicely placed here. The king is nicely placed, and so is the knight. Makes a nice little fortress. You can probably just attack with the 2 heavy pieces, like rook E7 followed by queen G6. Queen takes followed by rook here. It's probably another way to go. Queen here, maybe, and rook here, G6 maybe. We have some options. I mean, usually when you're +6, you get multiple ways to decide the issue here. So we'll stay it right here. We'll see if LJJ can find a nice way to finish this off. These pieces have a much harder time coming over to defend G7 now. So this is probably one way to do it, but now the rook can get in with tempo, if that means anything. Also, the queen could just simply check and capture a center pawn. That looks utterly simple. Yeah, okay, so it goes for this check. Rook here might be a quick checkmate with rook h8, and queen e8. Takes it with the rook. Okay. I suppose this is another way to do it. Rook f7, so a random move. Hard to defend these positions when you have less material. So immediately going for the trade, but making a mistake, because on rook takes, pawn takes, this is hanging. So now you get into a queen ending where white will have 4 extra pawns, but now the king isn't quite, and Mark Giado finds this. So now this isn't quite so easy anymore. Well, I mean, like I said, white's going to have 3 extra pawns, but this is, much more hope in this position than the previous one. Yeah, sometimes it's much better when you have this much extra material and your opponent has no defender to the king to go after the king rather than trying to trade down, too much. Like in this position, probably, I mean, obviously not rook to f5, maybe just some sort of, like move like queen to e8, just sort of, taking away some of the escape squares for the king and then trying to get the pieces in. Queen to e8, and if the rook runs away, you have knight to e7 with a queen g6 threat possibly, that type of thing. Or queen to e8 and then maybe rook to e7 and trading queens in this fashion rather than like what this happened. So here, this trades queens though. Oh no, you got to be kidding me. Wait a minute. King d1. No. This is check. Oh, and look at this. And black takes the pawn, not the queen. Okay, so this end game is still going to be hard to win. But yeah, black actually, Mark Giado had a chance to win there. Of course, LJJ in this position here should exchange queens, which is a completely easy win. And so, yeah, you always got to watch out for this stuff. Long distance. All right, so we can go back again. A draw would be acceptable. See, that's the thing. A lot of times if you're losing, it's good. It's better to repeat the position rather than try to do something else. Black's not trying to win here. Black's trying to make a draw. You're down 2 pawns. Yep, so this is good. Okay, now you're only down 1 pawn. Going for c3. Oh, a game. Okay, a game ended there. So let's go to. Oh, it was a draw. This one. This is the opposite color bishop end game. So this was the final position. Yeah. So once these fortresses started happening, right. So here we had. Okay, so the break did happen. Take, check. Queening. So this diverts the bishop away from c5. And then this just basically secures the draw. So this pawn is going to fall, but this is a fortress and white can do the same thing. And when that happens, it's a draw. Okay, so great fight by both players there. All right, so so we'll keep an eye on this end game here. This is pretty awesome stuff here. Black has fought all the way back. and is only down 1. White still has 2 passed pawns here. All right. Not bad. Okay, so let's see what's going on over here. So here we have symmetrical English, which transposes to a Caro-Kann Panov-Botvinnik attack with the G6 variation. Okay, I think this is a good variation. Looks a lot like a Gruenfeld defense, although the C and the E pawns have already been exchanged. This usually comes from a Caro-Kann defense. Let's see, like do I have the ability to move? Yes, I do. So normally you would get this position via E4, C6, D4, D5, take, C4, knight F6, knight C3, G6, knight F3, bishop G7. And here we are. So have the exact same position. And then here, white played bishop G5, which is a move. This can be, I think, met by knight to E4. Doing it this early, there's some things that can be done here. For example, knight E4, and if white bites with knight to takes D5, you can take on G5 and then go E6, which suddenly forks both knights. There'll be a knight here on G5 and a knight here on D5. This, however, I think is inaccurate because white can capture and capture, which actually does win a pawn. So this is, I mean, this is well motivated and very typical of the Gruenfeld, but I don't think you can do it on this move. Let's see how Pocket Thesaurus handles this type of thing. All right, is that game still going on? While we check out this opening, we'll go, well, these guys are still battling. So now, as far as tournament play goes, that's one of the things about missing it. Like earlier, white missed queen takes G5. One of the things about missing such things in Lichess tournament play is that now the game goes on. Oh, now it happened again. And this time black did blunder the queen away. Oh, and resign. But what happened there is that white had to invest 5, 6, 7 extra minutes in order to finish off a game that he was winning. And that could hurt your tournament later because it gives you less games to play. So thought you're going to take me to the cleaners. Okay. So, okay, hold on one moment here. All right. So a couple extra, games to start off with. That's pretty good. Wow, H3 was played. Yeah, in a moment where like taking and taking was just simply winning a pawn. As we all know from the Pocket Thesaurus videos that I've done, he is not a fan of taking free pawns. A most unusual habit for a chess player to acquire is to not take free pawns. Some people have acquired this a taste for this and play purely for peace play and not worry about taking free stuff. Yeah, this actually is a blunder. Now black has that same combination. Knight takes, E6 with a fork on E6 and G5. And that will win a piece for black. Let's see if Cyrus can find this. Yeah, H3 was extremely slow. The motivation is understandable. Bishop to G4, of course, will pin the knight and put pressure on the center, but it's completely unnecessary in this position. And yep, capture, and then all he has to do is find here, and black wins, and he finds it. So a nice upset's going to happen here. We'll keep an eye on Cyrus's technique as that goes on. Okay, so let's go to this game here. So game 2 for both players. Sid Buzz is white against LJJ. We have this position. Yes, this is a famous position from the Peerts where Yeah, d4. So from a different move order, from a Veresov opening move order. And now after e4, d6, we have a mainline Pierce defense, bishop to g5. So there is, yeah, and this is a trick. So, and Sid Buzz knows what to do here. And yeah, this is a, now this might not necessarily be the best move. In fact, in this position, probably queen d2 is even better with the idea of playing f4 and castle and getting on with a center attack. But this actually has some tricks and traps to it that both players need to know. Okay, so yeah, so this one, if queen takes, rook takes, and it turns out white actually has a pretty sizable attack even without queens. This has also been seen before. And Sid Buds goes for knight to d5. I think also e6 is a good move there, sort of discombobulating black's position. So this is threatening some sort of capture on e7. However, we are leaving the e5 pawn in take, but it is already creating some excitement. Creating some excitement. Okay, so wait, let's check in on this one. This one costed. Okay, so when E6 happened, notice that Pocket Thesaurus used a bunch of time on his clock and played knight to F4, which of course does nothing about queen to G5. Yeah. Okay. So this is already winning for black. All right. So like I said, we will check in on the technique here. I assume that Pocket Thesaurus will use some more time on his clock. F6. Yeah, I think possibly black could have actually grabbed on E5. So bishop F4 maybe. That looks kind of irritating. How do you defend C7? Yeah, 95 maybe. I don't know. This suddenly is looking really good for white. Even if black can engineer kingside castle, that might not be so strong for him. So what probably calculating maybe queen e2 check. Queen e2 allows king f7. That might not be so smart with rook e8 coming in. So yeah, just move the bishop back. It's being attacked anyway, right? Pretty simple. Moves back this way. Okay, so this means that keeping the pin is desirable for some reason. I guess it prevents f5 and activating the bishop, but that is all the bishop does. I thought attacking c7 was, I mean, there is no knight a6 when you can just capture it. So it looked very hard. I mean, knight e5, you could, I mean, all of a sudden things are starting to get pinned here. Knight e5, knight f3, bishop g4, bishop e2. Those exchanges might look favorable for white. The center files are open. So here, probably, and now you could probably get away with castling. I mean, white's not threatening anything anymore, unless they're threatening bishop to g3. Knight b6. So really trying to get rid of this guy. Yeah, I think we have some, maybe a position where white is going to be slightly better. Not significantly better, but I mean, white could easily just take and queen takes and rook takes and a takes and bishop c4. That's probably a small advantage for white. Maybe more than small. I mean, that bishop is going to be quite good. The position will have to get reduced somewhat, but it's nice to have an edge there. All right, so that's probably decent. Let's go to the other game here. So this was, yeah, black actually won the knight on g5, queen f3, which hangs d4, which was not taken, knight to d5. Okay, so suddenly white has a big threat. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, why? Yeah, why allow the knight there? I guess it does open up the bishop. Yeah, I mean, was there any? I mean, is there anything really wrong with capturing? I mean, just win the pawn. I don't know. We'll find out. E5, knight d5, knight c6. So this way the rook can move, and also this is the threat. So this is natural and good. Castles is illegal. So black's just up a piece with the attack. White's not even developed, even not even close to being developed. So flea biting tactics here. Probably here is decisive. 97 doesn't work because of the capture. So this just offering a queen trade. It also triples up on the d pawn. White really can't trade queens there. They're already down a piece with a miserable position. And, like queen f5, even if the queen moves away, you could take this with the e pawn. You don't, yeah, obviously take it with the knight. We'll then lose to the fork, but you could take it with the e pawn, which also opens the e file. I mean, this is really bad. So black should have the mindset of trading queens here. I mean, especially being up a piece with no problems at all. King's already castled. You're already ahead in development. Everything. Just get rid of the queens. Even queen g4 does the same thing. Actually, queen g4 might allow a knight f6 check. So that's probably a little inaccurate. But queen f5 actually covers f6 too. Wonder what he's thinking about. What is he calculating? All right, so while he's calculating, let's see what happened here. Okay, so knight to b6. The knight was sacrificed. And then the queen was traded after the knight's sacrifice. And then the bishops were traded after the knight's sacrifice. And then we got to castle with check. And then knight to f3. But black's just up a piece here. Yeah, I think that was a faulty combination. It only looked fancy. It only looked good, but it actually just lost material. Now this pin might be now a bit annoying. This might have been inaccurate. I think probably what black should do is honor this this pin and maybe play king c8 and just get out of it right away. Here he does not honor it, and then knight to g5. So this is a problem. This is a problem. This might be a thing. So there's still some play left, still some fight. All right. Well, while they're deciding on that, let's go back to the technique of Cyrus 9 here. And queen f5 was found. Now notice that it was found, but it took a few minutes to play this move. So maybe that'll come in handy later. No, wrong. Yeah, that's why in this position, you just simply take with the pawn. Get a passed pawn, open the file. This is, of course, a blunder because of knight to e7, and pocket thesaurus wins. But he didn't find it. Oh, no. Okay, so we played a well-motivated move. Hey, yeah, let's develop a piece. Let's guard c2. Let's hit the queen. But, of course, knight e7 is 90 miles better than that. And then he offers the Trinquete here, which is rejected. Okay, so what does this mean? Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, all right. So still trying to keep it juicy, but it's just a little too juicy here. So now trying to go for a trading policy. So technique a little squiffy here, especially since he blundered the queen. But he's still winning, still up an extra piece. So, oh, look at this. So we have a last chance attack here. Let's check out the small board. Let's see what's going on. King C8 was actually played there by LJJ. So he eventually got it. He found that move to unpin himself. And now he's moving in. Okay. All right. Ooh, pawn hunting. Now, of course, this allows queenside castle. Yes. Black can keep hacking away on d5. Oh, and does so, and can pick up another guy on the d5 square and have a huge domination in the center here. White can open up the H file, but that's probably not going to be enough. C file isn't going to be enough for black. White can always just play king b1. But the extra piece still matters. Yep, king b1. So safeguards his king. Doing all these wonderful things, but only down 5 points. So for the kids at home that are watching this, it's always a good idea to play good moves when your position is still good. So many times I see players blunder pieces, blunder queens away, allow attack on their king, and only at that moment do they start developing pieces and centralizing and castling and making sure their king is safe and all the good things that that everybody's been taught how to do for a long, long time, but they only do it when they have a totally lost position. The object is to do this when your position is still good, and then you can build up attacks in you can build up better positions this way. So, okay, so this one opens the F file, although maybe the H pawn could be attacked later on with a queen H3. So Cyrus will have to defend a little bit longer. I wonder if taking with the H pawn was better. Queen H3, rook can move, and if queen H7, king F8, and have a supremely excellent defense. So there's a skewer. Maybe queen F7, defending and attacking. This move, just merely defending and attacking, but in a different way. I guess does this threaten? Okay, so going for it. So let's see what Cyrus had in mind as a defense to this particular type of attack. This must have been calculated. Else, why would he take with the F pawn? So he ignores it. Interesting. So this makes mate. But does white have anything special first? I guess that's the question here. So here's his. Oh, he allows this with check. No, king F8 must have been superior there. King F8, and then whenever something takes with on G6, it's not check, and then you have time to execute your check. Oh, he's given this up with check too. Oh no. No, this is suddenly now white must be winning here. This oh geez. Yeah, lots of things are falling apart here. Yeah, rook h6, king c5, queen e5 check, and that should be the end of the game. d4 is falling with check. Everything's falling with check. Oh, and he found it. And here should be the easiest win. PT doesn't always like to take free pawns with check. Here it's clearly the strongest move, but let's see what PT chooses. Oh, wow. He did it. Amazing. The new evolution of PT, actually taking stuff with check. Good, especially pawns. Here you can just take this with check and pick up a rook too. Which incidentally, when you take the rook, you'll be taking the checkmate off as well. Yeah, you always have to play well with your king. You can't be sloppy with your king. So taking a knight with check is hard to calculate. This is interesting. I mean, it's a free piece, a free rook, a free defense, a free win. I mean, why wouldn't you do it? Yay. Okay. So after 10 minutes of thought, we finally take a knight with check. Can we take a rook for free? Maybe we could even take a pawn for free and get extra greedy and then take the rook. I don't know. I mean, that's the chess player way, right? No. Okay. So at least he takes a rook. Now rook to d5 is a threat. Queen a7 is a threat. Queen d2 looks vicious. Too many things to defend here. And he resigns. All right. So, yeah, a good attack there in the beginning by Cyrus. All right. So, what's going on here? Okay. So, this was this was where LJJ was up a piece. White and then, okay, and here's same thing. White now develops all their pieces, centralizes, makes threats, does all this great stuff, but only does it when they're down a piece. Again, try doing this when material is equal and see what happens. Okay, so black is now going through a pawn eating expedition and then gives himself some air. Excellent technical move. So can I have the knight? No. Can I have a rook? He's Knight says no. Oh, can I have a skewer, please? So actually, that was interesting. So there, what happened was is that black went for something that looked really good, and in fact, it rebounded on the very next move just through exchanging. So white's going to get a piece back. Now black will end up a pawn in an end game, and probably might even want to go for a same colored bishop end game and save the bishop. Maybe bishop c6, followed by king b7, followed by getting the rooks into the center, something like that. I don't know if you want to let the bishop drop. Where could you post up your knight that would be extra nice? Probably nowhere. So yeah, maybe the answer is just save the bishop, let the knight drop, get your king off the back rank, and get your rooks into play, and just be happy that you have a same colored bishop ending with an extra pawn. You have a majority on the king's side. Bishop c6. Okay, the move was found. I like this move. You don't want to go all the way back because it prevents your king from getting into. Ah, wow! And he finds this entire plan. All right, good man. So this is a pleasant ending. Grind away on this for a long time here. All right. So, okay, so another game has begun. This time it's Mark Giado versus Pocket Thesaurus. So a Benko Gambit, E3, and E6. So this is a good way to try to crumble white's center. Take, and knight f3. So now we have achieved the Blumenfeld counter gambit. Slightly different variation, but fairly close. So black's idea here is to, oh, well, now d5 is happening. Uh-oh. And that's going to protect the pawn. White, I think, had to get the pawn back already with bishop takes pawn. Yeah, now it's impossible to get it back. So now black's up a pawn here. And then the idea here is to utilize some of the open space for some aggressive development. Bishop coming to d6, bishop coming to b7. Castling is going to put the rook on the half open file. The queen and the bishop on this particular diagonal can be nice. A rook coming to b8 can be a nice piece. This knight can jump in, to the fray in a couple different ways. And then you have this giant pawn glom here. Usually black is down a pawn with this type of position, not up one. So I would say that this is extra good for black. This is probably a way to do it. And white could probably take in either way. Take with queen or pawn. This looks like it makes the pawn really weak, but it does improve the rook. So there's some technical details here. So an exciting opening that's going to that is happening here. Although white has sacrificed a pawn and has saddled himself with a isolated pawn on the B file here. I mean, but still, this bishop could be quite nice. This bishop can be okay. Yeah, that might allow knight e5 though. Maybe that doesn't matter. All right, so while that's going on, let's check this ending again. So now we'll look at it from black's point of view. Aha, so forcing one of the rooks off the board. And maybe we'll have a pure bishop endgame, which same color bishops are extra pawn positions are a little harder to hold for the defending side. So white probably doesn't want to trade both rooks. A4. So this is actually fixing all of the pawn. Well, at least fixing these two pawns on light squares, which favors this bishop. These pawns over here are on light squares, but they're not fixed. They could easily get off the board. Rook F8 is interesting, trying to break into the position. It also puts the rook on an open file, which has been well known for 600 years to be a really good way to improve the rook. But here we go for some new theory. Let's try to trade rook. So rook e7, good move. Now this square is a little bit weaker, so rook g7 we would expect. And then what, bishop e8 or some such thing? Yeah. But now white might have a draw. Rook to e7, followed by rook to g7, followed by rook to e7. Same thing. Yep, same thing. So if white wants to draw, I think white can force it. No, still trying to win. Okay, and I mentioned this earlier. It is really amazing how often the defender in endgames is actually still trying to win, almost forgetting about the fact that they are actually down material. But this happens all the time, so this isn't like a one-off thing. It's always important to keep a track of the scoreboard. The scoreboard's over here under the score sheet. So when you're in the minus and you're in an end game, not repeating the position is risky. I mean, if you really think that you can win, I guess then you don't want to repeat, but you have to have a good reason for it. So king to b2. So yeah, black still has the advantage. Yeah, it has to improve the king though, but this rook is well placed to prevent that. So maybe white can make some progress. This is interesting. Where are you going here? b4? Maybe b4 is the idea. Try to break. Black will just take though. It'll undouble the pawns, I suppose. Ooh, that might allow. Okay, so now these pawns are distorted. Does that change anything? Check. Well, yeah, now the king is free. Uh-oh. Yeah, that rook was doing a good. Oh, wait, no. King d6. Get that king activated. Oh, that would have been awesome. That would have been awesome. And then the king would have been free to do something. We don't want to be. Oh no! Oh no! Now white all of a sudden is back in the game again. Oh, okay. So a finesse move forces this up the board. Now you can take. Well, finessing this, so forcing rook f5, right? Or maybe forcing rook h2, rook f2 to h2. Are we finally going to take this or no? Okay, so this tournament, well, this still wins the pawn. So this is, well, unless rook c5 is a good move. Yeah, well, yeah. Rook c5 defends the pawn. White can't take because black still has the majority. So black can get a pass pawn very easily on that side of the board. Maybe black should just ignore it and get on with it. Oh, he found rook c5 though. Very clever. Very clever. All right, so while that's going on, let's check the progress of this game. Let's see. We had bishop to d7, bishop to e2, bishop d6, bishop b5. So this double stepped here to get to this. This is a very interesting move because, of course, if black takes and white takes, white will then win a tempo on the bishop. So very, very interesting idea. Castle, and then goes back again. Okay, so this is very interesting. So we went from bishop to e2 to b5 to d3, when, of course, we could have gone to d3 in one go and save ourselves a bunch of time. So PT knows how to take advantage of this. Yeah, now he's already going to go for that. So black, by using those 3 extra moves, has managed to mobilize his entire position and still has the extra pawn. So I would say this is very close to winning for black strategically. Yeah, and it kind of shows what happens if you double and triple step with one piece. It gives your opponent just enough time to set something up. Okay, so while that is going on, oh, that's walking right into knight to b4. Oh no. Oh no. So now his good bishop, which by the way took 1, 2, 3 moves to get there, is now going to be exchanged off. And then all the light squares are going to be really weak. Also, this pawn on b3 is going to be really weak, if not completely weak. So, like, for example, queen to b1, knight takes bishop check, queen takes knight, queen takes pawn, winning a second pawn, which looks really good. Okay. So PT is looking like in the driver's seat there. So what happened there? So we had this rook c5 move, rook to h6, king to g7, rook to e6, g4, rook e4, g3, take. Oh, and black timed out. Well, I mean, of course, if black just simply captures and captures, I mean, yeah, this is mostly drawish now. I mean, still a very entertaining fight by both players. That wasn't bad. Let's review that really quickly here. Oh, yes, this was the Pierce defense. Right, it's bishop h4 and then this unnecessary sack on f6. And this ultimately worked, although it looked like that LJJ had good technique. Yeah, it lost the piece back, but still got an end game that was still good. Traded a rook. Then, yeah, rejected the draw, which evidently Sid Buzz was rewarded for. Yeah, then did not activate the king, but pacified the king. Also gave away the c7 pawn, which was never captured. That c7 pawn lived to the end of the game. And yeah, so and then but only lost on time. But so yeah, black actually had basically a good position the whole game there. All right, so let's move on. So now Cyrus is now playing Sid, and here we have round 2 of the Khan Sicilian. This time we don't have an F4, an F4. variation. We have more of a bishop stack line. And then this, oh, yeah, that might have given away C3 immediately. We might not have even had to play B5. So here, oh, okay, and then goes after the pawn, queen D2. So luckily this rook guards this rook, but we can trade and just be happy to be pawn up. White has the two bishops though, so this one might be a little bit different. Still, it'd probably be good just to trade queens. White's really, White's got a large lead in development, so trading queens would be a great way to try to diffuse that. And this was rejected. So White has a large lead in development. Maybe even bishop takes b5 is on. Uh-oh. Bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes, followed by knight d6. That might not be so pleasant to deal with. We seriously consider that. Let's see what Cyrus comes up with. Maybe even a4 is just simple and good. That's probably a decent queen b4. So kind of a similar idea. Something where we're trying to prevent castling. That's why knight here to knight here would have also prevented castling, but it would have cost a bishop. This is one where it's less expensive. D6 is interesting, of course. D6, A4. Yeah, the only thing about this is that even knight C6 might be playable. D6, okay. So maybe now we go for the sacrifice. Maybe now we play A4. Maybe you can also play C4, and if takes, then you can bring a rook into the fight and try to take the C4 pawn with a rook. And if black tries to guard it with D5, then again, you have achieved the blockage of castling. So there are several different ideas here. Bishop takes actually looks really vicious. Bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes, and there's a fork here and here. And knight d6 check is coming next. And then the d file is open, so you can put a rook on it. And black won't be castling. He's giving it a think. Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's going on. Let's check out the game between Mark Giado and PT. Queen C2. Okay, so when we last left our hero here, or the heroes, I should say. Aha, right. So knight to b4, queen ran away, take d3 with check, and he takes b3. Extremely good. Rook to b1, and rook to b1. So this is interesting. Now this is setting up a discovery that black really can't get out of at this moment. So he actually has to work for it. So he gets out of it right now. And unleashing some sort of discovery, I don't think is going to mean anything. So he just castles. C4, queen C2, and then he gets out of it. And then once again, like in the Blumenfeld, this diagonal is really important. G3, though, that weakens some squares, especially this F3 square. A5, okay, so reminding him that he has passed pawns. Okay, yeah, fine. Bishop b4, rook e2, a4, a3, capture once, and then, there we go. Here we go. Attacking the queen and the knight. And then the rook takes f3, and that should be the end of the game. Very good. And black has an advantage all over the board and is +5. So that should be fairly easy. So good job, PT. So let's go back to this one. And look at that. He actually did something that I mentioned, which is going C4 and then trying to take this with the rook. So he actually did not do the sacrifice there. He played bishop G5 instead. Knight BD7, rook C1, and then he did break with C4 rather than A4 and got his rook to C4. So here we have this kind of position. So all the queenside files are, the B and C files are wide open. D6 is hanging. That would be interesting. Sidbuzz is up a pawn, so Cyrus can get his pawn back if he just captures. That might be possible. Possible and good. And he does. Okay. So difficulty developing. It's got good central coverage. And the bishop pair and a centralized queen. Okay, fairly good. All right, let's check out the standings here. So with 22 minutes to go, Sidbuzz is in the lead with 3 points, and we can see the rest of the scores here. All right, so good 5-person tournament. Let's look at it from the other point of view. So bishop C1, take, here, rook takes F3, bishop takes pawn, queen E5, give me the rook. No, but this allows rook takes F2. It also allows knight takes F2. Depending what he wants out of life, he plays rook F2. And this is a really deadly attack. Queen H5. Queen H5, H4, Queen F3 looks really crushing. If bishop B2, then queen takes B2 with, I'm sorry, no, that's not true. Actually, bishop to B2 might have been interesting. Bishop to B2 because the rook is hanging. So that means black would have to find something like queen B8 and defend both things. Yeah. So queen D1 was played, and then, okay, that blocks queen H5. Not bad. Okay, so he's found a different way. He's going to go here and here. At least that's the idea. Also, it takes it off this bishop to B2 move. So this is a good move. So maybe rook F1 is forced. But white is -5. So exchanging a rook and, no, exchange a rook and a queen and then losing the bishop, that can't be, well, let's see, wait a minute. Rook F1 takes. You could take with the king and keep this guy defended, but black's still +5. And white has nothing more to play with. So this might be a good time to resign. Rook D2 is a big problem. Rook D2 followed by queen F2. Rook takes H2 is another thing, because on king takes H2, queen F2 check, and mate on the next move. So centralizing. So he's probably angling for bishop to B2 and queen takes G7. Black might be a little faster here, though. So either rook to D2, which should win, or rook takes H2, which should win too. Both of those lead to a fairly quick mate. Probably this is more accurate. Look at that. Or he has this. Yeah, very nice. Just simply go to G2. Yeah, this is simple and good. Look at that. Hey, look at this. All this stuff. I'm taking something. Oh, but he gets mated first. Oh, too bad. All right. So good win by PT there and jumps into the lead. All right. And so let's go what's happening here between Cyrus and Sid. So this was the, breaks through onto D6, knight to E5, give me the rook. Oh, but it hung the knight. Oh no. Yeah, so this is like, give me your rook, and they say no. Give me your knight. Give me your queen. No. Here, give me your king with check. No. Give me your rook. And then this. Okay, but now it says give me your queen, but black says no and says give me your knight. So that was not the way to go. Again, asking for the rook, and it's white to move. So another game started. Nope, 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 nope. So doubling rooks. White still +2. And LJJ just starts a game with Mark Giado here. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so need some way to find some targets in this position. H3, very interesting move. H4 seemed also okay. Try to break this down a little bit. All right, let's go back over to here. Oh, did a game get forfeited? Yeah, okay. Something happened. Timed out. 16 minutes left. Tie for first. Bishop C4. Wow, black actually flicked in H6 there, so kind of loosening the position on their own. So offering a trade. Oh, and hitting the queen. So that's a good move. This is does this force rook takes rook? Rook takes rook is interesting because then if white takes the queen, you could take the rook with check, king to h2, and then take the bishop. So white should take the rook. No, no, no. Now black actually probably has some good chances here. Black's now got a reasonable fortress around the king, and you know, if the a pawn falls, black's got good fortresses on the queen side too. 3 pieces versus a queen. Oh yeah, no. In this position, Cyrus definitely should have taken the rook and maintained the material advantage and the positional advantage as well. This one here, black is the one that has not only a positional advantage, but now the material advantage, +2. This pawn does need to be captured, though, because it could be used to discombobulate this little fortress here. So maybe in this position, yeah, actually, no, okay, no, that's fine. And then maybe white will play rook to queen to d2 and fork a couple guys, huh? Go after their weakness. Nope, doesn't go after the weakness. So this is interesting. So let's see if this is captured. This is a fork, but then rook c4. Is there any other fork? There's the queen f4 fork. There's queen d2 fork. So, so capture. That's the whole point. I get it. Still, that should probably favor black, especially if they can outpost a couple of their pieces. So maybe we should keep this pawn. Maybe we should keep these pawns on the board and play like something like bishop f1. Wow. And that's what happened. Very exotic. So this threatens rook c2. So white probably should play queen d2, not only to block that, but to also attack the h pawn. So yeah, that h6 move that was played a while back, that actually might cost black in the future. This pawn is hanging. Oh, and okay, so we're going to see exhibit A of this argument. So probably rook a1. And then if queen h6, rook a4. And that still probably favors black. Yep. Yep. Good move. All right. While that's going on, let's check the progress of this game. So, Vienna variation of the Queen's Gambit with A3, which is a slightly unusual move. E3, take, bishop D3, queen C2. So a fairly regular position for both sides. This is probably not like theoretically, the most precise, but I mean, like all of these piece placements have been seen many times before in similar situations. So it looks already like a tense fight here in the middle of the board. Very nice. Okay, so let's go back over to this one. We'll look at it from Black's point of view. Queen F2. So this prevents rook takes A4. Also prevents rook A2. So adding the knight to the fray. Here. That might not be so bad. Could also play bishop C4 and then rook takes A4. Also, E5 is interesting, following up by knight E6 and then outposting the knight on someplace really good. Yeah, some choices. Right. Okay. So, look at this. So we have castling has been rejected in favor of the Harry attack here. So this actually after Queen C2 G6, this encouraged an aggressive move. So here comes Harry. Take, and then oh wow, this is right up PT's alley. This is exactly what he wants out of life. Something where he's got a multi-piece attack, one-way traffic against the king, and of course this is looking really bad now. Let's see. So what would be the finish here? Interesting question. So LJJ is up a point here, but he has to defend himself accurately if he can. Maybe knight E5 is most deadly. Threatening mate, and if take, then this undermines the protection for the pinned knight. So he dives in. So this forces king E7. No, this is pinned. Absolutely. So he does have rook H7 check. King D6, 95. Even that might be deadly. He definitely doesn't want to trade here. I'd be shocked if he wanted to trade there. Yeah, of course. So this is out. Queen F7 is mate. Queen G7 is mate. Bishop H6 is mate. All those are mates. So he has to walk the plank. Oh, he walks the plank this way though. That does give him the extra option of Queen F7, if that means anything. Also, I suppose there's no, not rook takes D7. Well, maybe there's rook takes D7. That seems sort of something that gives up the initiative. We don't want to do that. I mean, Queen F7, King D6, Bishop F6 is interesting because if knight takes, we can take the B7 guy and try to harass the king. I like how he's given it a think though, trying to calculate different variations, hopefully. He does go for this, but this seems like it kind of diffuses the attack. He could take with a king, and then bishop takes, and yeah, maybe that's still dangerous. It's flashy. I mean, at least this is interesting. Now, queen takes is out because queen takes f6 is mate with the dovetail mate. So can't do that. And taking with the knight, of course, loses the queen. So that's out. So he has to take with the big man, but that loses the f6. Okay, so he finds it. Good. And then bishop takes f6. So here LJJ is now up 3 points. So hopefully PT has calculated this out because he has sacrificed more material. So he probably has to collect this guy first. Oh, and that gives his piece back, of course. Right. So now material's equal. Right. Of course. Material's equal, but this king is drafty at best. That's a blunder. Queen f7. Oh, no, wait. Queen f7, king d6, bishop d6. That looks really bad. Yeah, and then like the bishop is hanging too. So king d6, bishop d6, rook takes. Pawn takes. Yeah, maybe we could even take with a knight. Either way, we're winning an exchange here. No. Well, that just wins an exchange. You can just chop a bunch of times. Wins the exchange back, I should say. But white will have a couple extra pawns. So this looks like a really good ending. Also, black still has the bishop, although the bishop could come out to a6. This is a good in-between move. Improves the knight with check. So this is forced. Okay, so while that is going on, let's check the progress of the 3 pieces versus the queen. So the fortress is still sort of here, but this one got broken down and the a pawn got won. So that'll be it. Let's see how that happened. No. Sorry, guys. Let's back it up. Okay, so when we last left it, it looked like this. Yeah, a4, rook f, bishop f1, queen d2, rook a1, queen f2, knight h7, h4, e5. So interesting that the e5 was not played when the knight was sitting here on f8 when it could easily use the e6 square. It does it in a totally different time. So this makes a nice little fork. But it does win the pawn, wins the center pawn, wins the g pawn. So it looks like black actually is going to get a lot out of this. Check here, trying to play for the win. By the way, didn't rook g2 just win the queen? And then you can promote Al at the end of it. So rook takes, queen takes, bishop takes, king takes, and this is a pass pawn and an extra knight. So that should have won easily. Going for more. Going for f7, which was allowed. Oh, but it also hit the rook. So building another fortress. Queen to a7, trying to win this pawn. So this looks really good for black. Just playing a few careful moves here. So now we have a real fortress here. Rook is guarding the pawn. Bishop is guarding the rook. Knight is guarding the bishop. Knight is also guarding the king, which is guarding the pawns. So black has nothing that can be picked on here. They can just unravel their pieces. Maybe we actually could play for checkmate. That's a good move. That's threatening king to h6 and knight f5. And getting the knight into the game. I wonder if that will be played here. You also have this passed pawn. Go pawn, go. Okay, going after the pawns. That's probably a reasonable trade. Trade this for these two. So not giving that up. So go pawn, go, right? No, rook a1, rook a1. Oh, rook a1 was winning. Rook to a1, king to e2, rook to a2 wins the queen. Oh, and missed it. Bishop c4. Now you still could do it. Check and rook a2 still wins. Yes, finds it, but can you find rook a2? Please find rook a2. Please. No, no. Oh no. All right, well, let's see what happens. Maybe these guys can make mate. Okay, now this king is almost mated, so that's threatening this mate. And the bishop. Oh, and timed out. Wow. Quite a game, I guess. Let's see. So these two are still battling at it. Battling. Okay, we have a minute 20 left in the tournament. So this end game looks really superior here. So, okay, so this was the game that it was a nice attack and then liquidate, king to e2. Now, I thought this was met by bishop a6 check, which it was. King f, and then here. Okay, so that gives black a really critical tempo. That means that if that's true, then just king d2 straight away was way better. And then you could just get your rook over to wherever you need to go. He goes like that. I thought the idea was, oh no, rook h8, knight g6. Interesting. Okay. So then he does get the h file after all. Go pawns, go. Give me the a7 pawn. And he does. Okay. Now he wants the rook. Rook h6 looks really good. And resigns. Fascinating. All right, 3, 2, 1. And that should be the end of it. Wow. So congratulations to PT, who wins the tournament. LJJ, who won the last tournament, gets second this week. And Cyrus picks up the orange trophy. So good job to everyone there. That was some interesting stuff. So anyway, this has been Coach Matt for the Seattle Chess School, and you've been watching the Thursday night adult chess club that battles here for an hour and a half every Thursday. We will be back here next Thursday, and we'll do another video. Have a good week, guys, and I will see everyone on the next one.